back to the FullStyle Inc channel for another video. I wanted to come on here before everything happens and introduce the next project for this month. This next month, upcycle. We are in March. Spring is on the horizon and I'm ready for the spring looks, whether we go anywhere or not, because let's be honest, we're still in the middle of a Panda Express. But we're gonna look good in the house either way. Hey stylists, before we go anywhere, I have to tell you some exciting news. I, Nadia of FullStyle Inc, will be a contestant on Blueprints DIY Next Top Upcycler. My episode premieres this Saturday at 9 a.m. over on the Blueprint DIY channel. That is this Saturday, March 20th, over on the Blueprint DIY channel. I hope to see you there and meet you in the comments. I am so excited. Make sure you are tuning in. Thrifted 2 identical shirts. Well, not identical, but they are identical in color. See, I thrifted 2 shirts that are similar in color, like almost spot on. See that? And I was really excited when I picked one up because this one, I believe, is large enough to fit me. Let's try it on once. Yes. Okay. We have something to work with, okay? So, I was really excited when I found this one and then found another one that's in similar color, because I knew I had one at home that I have been holding on to that is also the same color. This is a very common man's button-up color, you know, that and white. So it was, I loved it. The reason why I held on this one so long, because I knew I want to do something with it, but there is fraying and wear happening on the placket, and I just knew whatever I wanted to do with it, I couldn't reuse the placket unless I did some type of decorative stitch, and I didn't know I want to do that. So I have this, and I want to show you guys on camera what it looks like before. I love the length. You may not be able to get the full length. I don't know for sure. So I'm thinking of literally combining these 3 shirts to create the ultimate man's shirt dress for my body. Because I should have more than enough fabric. Even if something as fun as creating a double placket, something as adding fabric to the sleeves to create a bigger sleeves, maybe adding or removing away the neckline and collar, definitely doing something to lengthen out the length so that when I go out in these streets, she's secure. I have so many ideas. So before I start cutting anything, I need to take this over to my sketchbook and sketch out my ideas. But before that, we have to go to Pinterest and check out some inspiration. So, future Nadia, voiceover Nadia, cue clip. Alright stylists, you know, before any major project or DIY, I sometimes like to sit down with a sketch. So I'm going to take you guys along with this journey. As with any project or upcycle, things don't always turn out exactly how you planned, but I do love how this one came out. I pulled up some inspiration from Eloquy and Google to find a shape as similar to what I wanted, and I'm super excited at how this turned out. So with the sketch down in my mind, I went around and played with the shirts, trying to figure out how I wanted everything to look and lay together. Just basically playing around with the different shades and tones of the blue and finding out which shirt was the same length so that I can have so that the plackets can line up. Off camera, I did some major seam ripping. So with the second shirt, the shirt that we're going to use for its pieces, I removed the sleeves so that I can add them onto the other sleeves. I also removed the front and the back from each other. The front is going to be used to create the width and more room in the shirt, as well as the back is going to be used to become part of the flounce. I'm going to be removing the yoke and the collar and folding it in half to get the length that I need to create the hem flounce of the skirt. With the first shirt, I removed the sleeves as well so that I can merge them with the second shirt sleeves so I can get that volume that I want from the shirt. So with the two front pieces, the pieces that have the plackets on it, I'm going to come in about 8 to 10 inches. I think I did about 10 inches. I buttoned those up together so that they could be even and lay flat. And I just took my ruler, creating a straight edge with about 10 inches so that I can clean up those edges, as well as cut away that armhole so I can have a nice clean edge to sew with. So you guys see me here, I have it on, and I'm not loving how this came out. I'm not happy with it at all. So I want to go and find a way to make this lay better, and I'm going to just work around how everything. So as you guys see here, I'm not completely happy and satisfied with how this came out. It's not quite sitting the way I want it to sit. There's a problem in the streets. Okay, I wish I could see myself. I wish I knew what I look like. I kind of think I know what I look like, but not quite. So after some major problem solving, I seam ripped those side seams away from the shirt. I removed those plackets from the main shirt, giving myself about a half an inch to an inch of seam allowance so that I can be able to reattach them at a later time and fold over and have a real nice clean top stitch. I cut away the plackets from those two panels and reattach them back to the shirt because I still want that length, I still want that access material. Going in to create the sleeves, I removed the cuffs from both sleeves of both shirts, cut those right up the middle. I'm gonna lay those right sides together, do a straight stitch up the side. I'm gonna cut open another sleeve to use as a template to create that bell sleeve so that we have a nice even shape and form to attach our sleeves at a later time. So I did a quick loose gather stitch, and I'm going to gather these sleeves to that nice billow effect. I did go in and remove about 2 inches from the armhole of the man's shirt because it is kind of boxy and broad, and I wanted to soften it up a bit so that when I attach the sleeve, that gather, that puff can sit right at my natural shoulder bone and give me that effect that I'm wanting. Once I have gathered the sleeves, once I have cleaned away the excess from the shoulder, I'm going to attach the sleeves, making sure the bulk of that volume is at my shoulders and kind of thin it out when it goes around and under my arm. Okay, so we are back for fitting number 2, and I feel like I am a part of a church choir. So you can see me here playing around with those sleeves and figuring out where I want them to hit and sit, and I'm going to pin those and have those as a placement for later. I also go in and mess around with the sides. I do later go back and take away a few inches from the side just to clean up the shape a little bit. I wasn't really happy with how the front was looking and how I just had all that excess and it really wasn't laying right. So after some brainstorming and research, I decided to try out the square neckline that is really trending and popular right now. And I also went a little further and found a square neckline that had a shirt dress to it, just so I can envision what I was thinking about. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess for the sleeves. I gave myself about 9 inches, but I added on 1.5 inches for seam allowance and for the gathering that I'm going to do on the bottom of these sleeves. I took another sleeve that is scrap fabric, cut out bands at 2 inches wide so that I can use those to create the cuff and the band for the cap sleeve. And this process is as simple as how you will attach a waistband. You will sew it right sides together and then fold it over. Fold the band over and under and do like a stitch in a ditch or a top stitch to close off and finish off those raw edges. And then I gave this a nice pressing once I was done. So going back to that secondary shirt, I removed the collar and the yoke from it, literally folded it in half and cut it at that half. So this gives me about 16 to 18 inches to work with, and I did the same thing with the other shirt. I did the same thing with the third shirt, removing the pocket on the front, keeping the plackets, and measuring out 16 inches from each side and the back to giving me enough room and length to create the flounce for the bottom of this dress. And the reason why I want to keep the placket, because I want the dress to have that continual placket detail down the front of the dress. So I went ahead and attached all those panels together, giving me one long skirt, and then I went ahead and gathered that flounce to create the ruffle detail. I am now going to carve out the square neckline that I want. I took a ruler so I can get this as clean and as even as possible. So I took my time cutting 1/2 at a time. So I cut the first half, and then I'm going to fold this over and use that half to cut out the second half of the shirt so that it is even and it aligns. I reattached the packet back to the main shirt, making sure that everything lines up, that the buttonholes and the button lines up together, and then I'm going to stitch that down, fold it over, do a top stitch, and finish it off with a nice pressing. I tried the dress on one more time off camera and noticed that there was a lot of room and wonkiness with the neckline. So I took two pieces of elastic And I'm going to use that to gather and bring in that neckline and that body so that it sits plush to me. Once I've done that, I finished everything off. I finished the entire neckline off with some bias tape in a similar color from a previous project. And with that, stylers, attaching the skirt, attaching the flounce to the dress, you are done. I absolutely love how this turns out. It is so cute. It is so fresh. It is perfect for spring. It's going to look adorable come summer. This is the perfect spring summer dress. If you was going to a picnic, if we had outdoor concerts again, going to church, it's so cute. I love the detail on the sleeves. I styled this with a belt just to help bring it in a bit more. I did sew on a closure snap at the top and the bottom to keep those secured and laid down. I love the flounce. This is absolutely beautiful.